I wasn't for sure about the construction man. Board meeting for the Rockcastle County Board of Education, and it's nice to see familiar faces, and it's nice to see new faces, and we will get some introductions here soon. But the first thing on our agenda tonight is a moment of silent prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Item 1B is our roll call. Let the minutes note that all of our members are present. Item 1C is the reading of board team commitments, and we had a special called meeting last night, and I read those, so we're just not going to do that tonight, okay? So we are all, I think, very familiar with what they say. So, item 2 is adopt the agenda. With that being said, we need to add on something under operations and actions, which is going to be 4I. What that is a family resource memorandum of agreement for the 22 through 24 school year. And I believe that has been posted for you to see, correct, Ms. Gary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's just a routine document that you approve annually or every 2 years, and we received that through email yesterday evening.
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
All right.
Second.
All in favor? Best part of the night. Our school showcase, we have Mr. Robbie Phillips here tonight, who's going to tell us about the middle school.
Well, actually, y'all don't really want to hear from me. I know you want to hear from the kids.
No.
So I'll be real brief. First of all, I just want to thank you all for having us here again. We've been blessed, thanks to you all, for having an FFA and agri-science program, and we appreciate that. And that's sort of what we have here tonight. I have Mr. Ben Collin, Miss Allie Hayes here with us, two officers of our new chapter here. And I'm going to let them talk because, like I said, I know y'all don't want to hear from me really, because this is the best part of my jobs right here. So I'll just let them take over.
All smiles.
So this is our officer team. We elected officers in November. You can see that we have our president, our president Hannah King, our vice president Jaden Sturgill. I'm the secretary. Allie is the chaplain, and then our back row in the picture is Colson Reppert, the reporter, Alexis Ballinger, the treasurer, Kaylee Holcomb, the parliamentarian, and Chelsea Branham, the sentinel.
So for FFA week, we had dress-up days, and we had Tuesday, Twin Tuesday, Wednesday, Western Wednesday, Thursday, Pajama Day, Friday, FFA Friday, and also for FFA week, we did Tuesday we had a movie night, and Thursday we did a teacher breakfast, and we got donuts for the teachers, and we also had T-shirts for them. And on Friday, we had a leadership conference at the high school.
And then these are just some of the pictures from these days. In the top right corner, you'll see us at the leadership conference at the high school. In the bottom right corner is the Wild West Wednesday. In the middle is the office staff. On the left is Pajama Day, and on the bottom is our vice president giving the new computer teacher a donut.
I bet they loved that, didn't they?
This is also just throughout that week, and we have other dress-up days.
This is from our leadership conference at Kentucky State University. We had workshops. Pretty sure we had 5 workshops, and just had a great time.
Okay, so for our upcoming activities, we are gonna attend the state FFA convention in June. Then we have FFA camp, which is the first of the middle school only week. And we're gonna begin monthly club meetings in the 2022 and 2023 school year.
And then these are just some of the things from agri-science class. And I think that's all. Allie has something to say about something that they did.
This is from the farm machinery show that we went to in February. So this past February, 6th, 8th grade FFA members were able to attend the farm machinery show in Louisville. There we were able to look and learn from different farming equipment from different vendors. We were able to become familiar with the high school FFA advisors, and many of us spent time getting to know some of the high school FFA officers and members. The farm machinery show was an excellent opportunity to help new members get out of their comfort zones and speak to a community of farmers and businessmen and women.
Thank you all.
We also have Miss Hillary Whitaker, who is our agri-science teacher, and she was one to say.
Well, I just wanted to say that I love the opportunity to be back here in Rockcastle County, continuing with our agri-science program and getting to start this FFA chapter. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I love kind of sharing that with the kiddos. And you can kind of see some of the things that we have been up to in agri-science classes. We've done everything from, learning about soils. We started cleaning up the courtyard at the middle school. Kind of partnered with the youth service center and the high school ag department to kind of build us some benches, and we're looking to get that cleaned up and looking good very soon. And I'm just, like I said, thankful for this opportunity to be back here in Rockcastle County. Thank you all.
Thank you all for coming.
And I'll finish out real quick. I know we debriefed so you all can get on with your business. But I'd just like to thank you. I'm always been one of those people that kids need to be involved in something. And this is just one more avenue that we have at the middle school that I'm thankful for. One more activity that could hit a group of kids that may not be athletes. They may not be artistic or whatever. This is just another opportunity that you all have provided for our kids, and I just want to thank you for that. So,
Can I ask you a question?
yes, ma'am.
Whenever you started this, how did you promote it within your school building? I mean, is it available for 6th, 7th, and 8th, or is that just your?
It is technically, every kid will go through her class at some point. But technically, correct me if I'm wrong, it's only, FFA is only for 7th and 8th grade through high school. Is that correct?
Recognized at the state and national level, yes. But I've told the 6th graders they are welcome to participate in anything we do at the local level.
And
But technically the dues paying members are the 7th and 8th grade.
And we're doing a school membership so that kids will not have to come up individually and do that. So any kid within the middle school is just automatically a part of it as long as they're in her class.
So
that would be
every
every
child
kid.
does a rotation?
Mm-hmm.
How
it's
long?
An encore class.
It's an encore.
It's an encore class, so every kid will have the opportunity to be part of FFA if they want to, and it will be of no cost to them. The school is going to pick up the cost for that as well.
That's wonderful.
Just something simple and just another great opportunity for kids to just get involved. Period.
That's wonderful.
That's really, really exciting for our whole district, and we'll just go to continue to support our high school program and
training future leaders, just like our motto is, within our school district, and that's why we wanna train, so,
That's wonderful.
thank you all.
Thank you.
And thank you to our students that came tonight. I'm always so impressed. I think back when I was in middle school, and I don't think that I could have had the courage to get up and stand before a Board of Education and speak so clearly and so eloquently, and you both did a fabulous job, so thank you. I'm proud of both of you.
Matt, he might be a better speaker than you. I mean,
Well,
I'm just saying.
He's definitely. Wouldn't take much.
Thank you guys
Thank
so
you all
much.
for being here with us, and you all are absolutely welcome to stay with us if you would like.
I just have to share this, like several individuals that are in this room that attend, state FFA events. It will be such a proud moment when we hear Rockcastle County Middle School announced.
Yes.
Having heard middle schools over the years, this is just a win-win for, not only for our students, but for our school district as well.
Yes.
Opportunity for growth.
I think Jenny and I have probably sat through many of those state events, hoping that one day we could hear Rockcastle County schools named at the middle school level, so.
I don't know if we've sat as through as many as
Me
Mr.
too.
Collins.
Yeah, Mr. Collins, he probably has us all beat for sure. But
How many middle schools in the state? I mean, is that just not,
14 or 15 right now. It's growing. It's up from 4 or 5, 10 years ago. So it's really picking up speed.
it's a trend that's
It
building?
is.
That's good. That's good for our kids. Well, thank you. Mr. Phillips, thank you. I appreciate you very much. I kind of feel bad. I feel like we cheated. Mr. Phillips, did you want to speak a few more minutes? I feel like I kind of cut you off.
I was told that we were limited. I had a couple tell me they'd kick me, but Mr. Rifford will also cut me off. I have no doubt that you all remember that one.
2 minutes.
We won't have Brandon put the timer up.
The next thing on our agenda tonight is item 4. It's our operations and actions. Keep in mind that we added 4I to that. Everything that I seen was pretty much routine.
Yep.
But if anyone has any questions, now is the time to do so. If not, I need a motion to accept the operations and actions with that add-on.
I make a motion to accept it.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? Item 5A, review and approve the monthly financial reports.
They're fast.
I told you 7 o'clock is my goal tonight.
You have your financial reports for month ending in March, and including your revenue and expenditure reports. It's always kind of interesting there's not lots of exciting things that you can talk about with these financial reports, but one of the things that I pulled out to share with you this evening, just to compare our growth. One of the goals that not only the district had, but just personally, that as a finance officer, I wanted to see the cash flow for Rockcastle County Schools become very stable and strong in the Fund 1 General Fund. And just as a comparison, it's taken several years for that work to continue, and I feel like that we are at a really good place. We have a strong general fund balance, and that's so very important for the financial security of our district. In March 2019, on the month-end financial report, you would see a negative $148,032. In 2020, we grew to $757,781. In March 2021, we made some decisions as a district to to strengthen that fund with some of our investments. We grew to $3,486,618. And we've maintained those balances, on a monthly basis, and not a lot of ups and downs. And I think that's very important for us to continue to analyze that cash flow. So today we are at a little over $3.5 million for Fund 1, and going, we always talk about March. I start getting kind of anxious when we start going into the month of June and we're processing 3 payrolls at $4.2 million. And it's going to always be very important that, our district, continue to have a strong, fund balance for general fund. So I'm gonna try to start pulling out some things to point out to you on a monthly basis, that might be of interest just to reflect. One of the next things that we'll talk about is, next month will be Fund 51 and, the strength we have in our food service program. And we'll talk a little bit about how that's grew. So I'll just try to start sharing a few tips, fun facts for finance. But your month-end financial report, we end the month cash balance with, we're very soon, we hope to hit that $10 million mark, but our total cash balance for all funds, a little over $9.9 million.
Thank you, Ms. Jenny.
There's always a bank error of 0.
No, it is not.
No.
That can happen whenever a check goes through the bank and maybe a number was transposed,
Okay.
and it sometimes takes a month for it to correct itself. So there have been times that there would be, it's usually cents. It's usually,
Right.
I think I've seen 15 cents there before. And then next month it clears itself out. Do you have any questions about those financial reports?
Miss Jenny, this I guess would be a 4B, but
Okay.
there's several things that the available budget is a negative. I assume that means we've overspent the line item, but.
It could be, or the estimate for the budget was just not where it should have been.
Okay.
Those are areas that we look at on an annual basis. Very soon, I'm sure one of those negatives, may be fuel costs, and we've talked about that. We would not have anticipated, the level of expense that we had this year, even though we had extra funds budgeted there, but I'm afraid by the time we get to the end of the school year that we could be in the negative there. It could be a coding, error, and maybe not even error. We, decided to code something in, Trent sitting beside me, I'll pick on him. In facilities, we decided to code it as a supply instead of a, materials. So there's lots of factors.
The one that caught my eye was 529 insurance other.
Oh, okay. So, I believe you're looking at, a rebate that we received from our,
Okay.
Kimmy unemployment insurance. So that negative is actually, I guess, a positive.
Okay.
In that, I don't have in front of me what you're looking at, but I'm pretty sure that, that's what you're looking at.
Okay.
So we actually received our refund, from that settlement.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else have any questions for Ms. Jenny? Thank you, Ms. Jenny. With that being said, I need a motion to approve the monthly financial reports.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Item 5B, review and approve the recommendation for Deco Architects for the RCMS project. Mr. Clark.
Excited, another milestone in our journey to get a new middle school. Probably gonna talk about B and C together some, and Ms. Carey, you feel free to jump in. You guys feel free to ask questions. I don't have a prepared presentation or anything. We are recommending Deco Architects and Codell Construction as the design team and the construction manager for the middle school project. We have spoken with many people that have used both of those firms. They come highly recommended. Heard nothing but good things, no negatives whatsoever. The one thing that rang through about Deco was their ability to model and show you the product that you would get before, during the design phase of the project. I feel like that is very, very important. We've not built a new school in a long time. I was not the facilities director. I've been involved in 2. Ms. Jenny has 2, Broadhead and the tech center, but only in a technology standpoint for me. So I feel like that Codell Construction's experience, I think 114 years is what they list in their book. You guys got those proposals last night. So I think that's very important. I feel like that the CM architect owner team is a very important concept for this project. It's kind of the same model that we use with the energy project. We talked a little bit last night about the bidding process and the transparency and the ability to drill down into those small packages where you're not just getting a general contractor that gives you X person and you're stuck with them. We've been through that before, and it's not as good. It's not the best way in my opinion. But I think we're very, very comfortable, very happy. You as a board, do you guys have questions or anything that you want to talk about or ask about either or?
No, I thought the portfolios were very well put together, impressive, the deco especially. I liked it. I liked that just the design style I saw in there, I thought would fit us very well for what we have. I know it can change, but yeah.
I'd like to hear from,
Yes, let's
sure, if that's okay.
Yes, this is Miss Jessica Phillips. She's here with us tonight representing DECO, and DECO is a family-owned company, and I can let Miss Jessica speak more to that but she and her husband Derek run the company together. So, Miss Jessica.
Thank you all so much just for the opportunity to be here tonight and just be considered for this project. It is very exciting times for us. Like Ms. Gallagher said, my husband Derek and I own DECO Architects. We're just right down the road in Somerset, Kentucky. I think it was 29 minutes from our office to this location for me to drive here. So it's no problem at all. We are so thankful for this chance to be here. My husband was really wanting to be here tonight as well. We like to attend the districts that we work in. We like to attend their monthly board meetings if we have a project that we're doing with the district, just to give updates and just continue to let the board know how things are going, how things are progressing. And he had to give an update at Pulaski County tonight at the same exact time as this meeting. So I wanted to make sure and be here because we are just so thankful. Derek is our principal architect, and before coming on board with DECO Architects, let's say I've been with the company over 5 years now. I was a teacher for 9 years. So being a part of this project is so special and important to my heart as well. And we're just really excited. We have our teams lined out and ready to go. Like Mr. Clark said, we really like to model things from start to finish. So a lot of other companies may just start that process in, the design development phase. We start at schematic design and move all the way through with that modeling process. So we would love to just continually be here at these board meetings monthly to give you updates and show you some progress. And you can use that, on your website. You can show your staff. We have given input and gotten ideas from teachers if that's the way you want to go from the beginning or however you want to go with it. But we are just so excited. We're thankful. We're prepared. We're ready. And thank you so much. We're really excited. Did you all have any questions at all?
I think we used the term last month, we have an aggressive timeline.
Yes.
Do you think, question one, do you think our timeline is reasonable? And question two, do you think it's doable?
Well, one thing that I opened the RFP and we saw the time frame. The only thing that really, I guess, worried me, we can produce whatever you need. We're willing to work and get our side of things done. The only thing that would worry me a little bit about the timeline is just ordering materials. So, and that's kind of outside of our control. It's outside of everybody's control. So some of our HVAC folks have told us, if you put in an order today, it may be 8 months, it may be 10 months before you get the materials on site. So I think just being proactive and getting as much done as we can at the beginning so that way we can go ahead and get those materials ordered will be super helpful, and we're very willing and happy to do that. And I brought this today, a superintendent that we work with over in Casey County sent to me. I'm sure you probably were on it. It was the House Bill 678.
Yes.
So I know that was a big thing that happened, and we were just kind of waiting for some feedback, and it sounds like the Kentucky Department of Education, if you all so wish to be a part of this bill, you can kind of bypass some of those review times, which could help the time schedule a lot as well. Because with so many projects being in the queue right now with, ESSER money and everything, and so many districts doing things, their time frame for reviewing things was just taking quite a lot longer than what we were used to seeing before COVID. So I think this will really expedite the process as well. So is there any other questions though for me?
I have a personal question. Do you miss the classroom?
You know, people ask me that quite a bit, and I do love the children, and I love just the teachers and working with them. So there are parts of it that I miss, but just being here tonight, it's just so fulfilling to be able to feel like I'm still working with schools in a meaningful way and making an impact on kids.
Rockcastle County always welcomes good teachers. You
Yeah.
know, we just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, that's what that
I'm sure
ain't.
we'll have some vacancies in the future, so
I
keep
went
that in
to
mind.
Eastern, right up the road, and I have several friends that teach here, so I've heard nothing but good things about your district, and we pass through all the time. My sister-in-law lives in Richmond, so we're back and forth visiting her and other family members quite a bit, and see your schools all the time. And I always think, I remember years ago saying that it's so cool to work at this district, wasn't it, the Rockets? And it's so nice to be here, so thank you guys so much. Anything else?
I don't know, this question, I guess, is somewhat for you and somewhat for you all. I've not been through a building project. What would, we get the money, we pull the trigger, how does this look? Like, what are the first steps for us in terms of getting to a design?
Well, do you want me to start and
Yeah,
then you chime
Go ahead,
in?
yeah.
Okay. I've already been in conversations with Ms. Ballinger as soon as we found out that we were gonna be put on the agenda for approval to get that initiation meeting set up. So we'll get that meeting set up and to kind of lock some things in place and come up with the schedule and look at some funding. But the very first step would just be to get that BG1. Even with this House bill, you still have to have a BG1 with KDE on file. And that's a lot of what I do is work on all the KDE side of things, the paperwork, and make sure everything's in place. So I'm very knowledgeable on how to help districts get that set up, the proposed one ready, if you don't already have one ready, and we'll work with your fiscal agent to get everything outlined. I've even went into superintendents and helped them put it in for them. So very willing to do that. So we'll get that in place. I believe from there, with this House bill, we may be expedited a little bit, but there are usually 4 phases of design. They will assign a tier. This one would be a tier 4 project because it requires quite a bit of, well, tier 1 actually, tier 4 would be the opposite end, but it requires all of the phases of design. So we would start with schematic design. We would get a package together where we're kind of getting some ideas together, make sure that everybody's on board with those ideas before we move on into design development, where we further the design. And lock some more things into place. Then we move into construction documents, which are your building plans, everything on paper, your specification manual, and then we go into bidding and then construction. So that's kind of the way it goes from start to finish. Each of those things, last a period of time, mainly due to KDE, and then our timetables and any engineers' timetables as well. But that initiation meeting, we'd get that in place, and then we'd work from there to get a schedule outlined and be proactive with it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Did you have anything else?
No, that's better than I could have done.
Okay.
Looks like KDE causes a lot of problems.
Well, and that was important. I had served Miss Jessica on that committee, that as a superintendent on that committee that passed that House bill.
Yes.
So I've been working with Representative Massey on that. Really glad to see that pass. I think it's gonna speed up our timeline. It'll help districts all over the state. But again, they're working out through KDE, just like on that superintendent webinar today, what exactly is that gonna look like?
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're excited, and we will, well, there's 2 days left in the legislative session, so, again, we're still waiting to see on our funding. We have 2 days, so we'll see where we are.
Should we
and
camp out?
we might
Sound
need to.
fun.
Yeah. So we'll after then that's what we've said all along. We wanted to be proactive and be in a position, if we do secure that funding, that we're ready to go, that we're not waiting 2 to 3 months for this process. So we're hopeful, and our fingers are crossed, and
we're very thankful. Like I said, I'm gonna reiterate that we're excited, we're ready, whenever you all ready for us to start that first meeting and get everything going, we've got a drone guy ready to come and fly the site. And our software, we can model what the site looks like with what the building's gonna look like and make sure it meshes together and which way it's gonna face and what's gonna look best. And so, we're ready to get that on the books whenever, you find the funding out and ready to go. Thank you
Well,
again
thank
so
you for
very much.
coming this evening.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
What's 680, what was that bill, 682, 688? Six, sorry. I should put that up. Okay.
Did you have anything else, Mr. Clark?
You know,
With that being said, I asked the question just to verify all, any financials as far as payment to them, that's all set by the state, so it's not like it's, would be a question, so just to let everyone know about that, and the general public know. It's always good to let all the public know that where their tax dollars are being spent and why it's spent that fashion, so.
Yes, and last month you approved the RFP.
Mhm.
That was advertised, and these are the companies that responded to the RFP that was posted.
This will be we're gonna talk as if we already have the money, okay? This is a big just to let you know, this is a big project for our district. We have a lot of memories in the existing building, so, you know, this is gonna get personal for a lot of people, so we're looking forward to you making this work out for you.
And that's what some of the design I saw on your portfolio is encouraging and exciting, so, yeah. That was the struggle I had in my brain, is how we're gonna make it, you know, fit what we have. So I think it'll work good.
With that being said, if Mr. Clark has nothing else to do with that, it will be a pleasure in my opinion, and I would like a motion to approve the recommendation for DECA. All in favor? Tell your husband and all of your team that we look forward to working with everyone. Item 5C is review and approve the recommendation of, is it Codell? Codell Construction as the construction manager for the RCMS project. Does anyone have any questions concerning that?
Cadell that's basically like a general contractor for building your house, right? Is that the concept? Sort of.
construction manager, it differs a little bit from a general contractor in that if we went with a general contractor on the project, they would basically bid, you would take the bid, then they would provide whoever subs that they chose. This method works a little bit different to where that, and if you go on Codell's, like their Facebook page, you'll see how they do projects. They bid it by system. Okay. HVAC, flooring, ceiling, you know, anything, structural steel. And it's transparent like our energy project was. It's a, you know, you have a team, but I think it's more of a team concept that you have between the design team, the construction manager, and the owner, rather than you just put out something for bid and they bid on it and they get it and then they come and do it.
What they do.
They do what they do. Yeah, we've done that.
You all been very pleased with them on the elementary school. Is that a fair statement?
That is CMTA. That's different.
Oh,
But we
okay.
do have a construction manager through CMTA.
You have a construction, okay.
It's that same process,
Okay.
pretty much.
Just one more middleman, sort of.
Really a partner. I would call it a partner. We're developing a team rather than hiring a general contractor that would work for us.
And we would have more say in this process.
You know, and like Codell Construction as a construction manager, they work for Rockcastle County Schools. They've got no contractual obligation to anybody, the design team, anybody else. And I'm not knocking you, sorry. But that's just the way that it works. I mean, that's how that works. It's not like a GC that is bound contractually to subcontractors. And Codell will be, just like they would be with us every step of this project, pre-designed all the way through finished building, finished product. So that differs too from a GC project.
Thank you.
Anyone have any other questions? All right. With that being said, I need a motion to approve the recommendation for Codell Construction as our construction manager.
So moved.
All in favor? All right, let's wait on the money.
Yeah.
And on the 15th,
Fingers
is that
crossed.
right?
2 days.
14th, well, we're gonna,
13 and 14.
You all can send me a text and telling me when we're gonna
The
get
good
started,
news,
okay, the
yes.
good news, okay. Item 6, review the superintendent's personnel action report. We have that.
Yes, it's in your, folder, I'll give you just a second
Very back.
to look at that,
Maybe
if
at the
you
very
have any
back.
questions.
I've already seen it.
Like Jenny was the new HR, whatever, did we fill her position, or was that kind of combined?
We have not at this time.
Okay.
Has that been do we have anything posted?
We have not posted that.
Would you share with us what we do have posted?
Are you gonna need to pull that up?
Hard to know, because the website's not.
Yeah.
I killed it.
Did you kill it?
That our website has gone out. We have food service positions posted.
Special ed, I think.
Ms. Rebecca, we have 3 special ed positions. Administrative assistant for food service. And that, I think that's it. Our 3 special ed, food service, and cooks.
So no teachers yet.
We have 3 special ed teachers.
Right.
Yes, but other than that, that's all.
Wonderful.
And Ms. Jennifer did mention, and Brandon, our website is down. It went down at 1:30 a.m. this morning, and we are frantically working to get the new website launched. So if you go to the website, it is down.
And I did post something on Facebook, on the school district Facebook page about the board meeting and a link to that YouTube channel on that post so that everybody can watch still.
Is that an intentional went down to switch to the new one?
No.
Okay.
So it came in digital, so I was gonna talk about your department report, but I'll talk, but, so 1:30, it just went down, okay, it wasn't her fault. So the site went down, the latest backup I had was the end of March.
Yes.
That was when we transferred, we gave the data to the new website company that we're switching to. So because it's dead, it's gonna take me a long time to repair it.
Gotcha.
We just decided to switch gears, and instead of fixing the old one, to move to the new one. So we're switching really fast, a lot faster than we planned. It's not gonna be perfect. But I have a meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning with the new company. I expect to switch sometime tomorrow. We will bring up the district site only, not each school site. So we're gonna go still slower on those sites, but tomorrow we'll have a district page up, and it'll be kept back to normal as much as we can. So we'll launch the new district site tomorrow, I think. But that's the plan. Yeah, it just didn't make sense to go forward, try to repair an old site when we're almost, my notes that I typed up last week or Monday or whatever says, expect us to go live soon, so that was our plan.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Sooner than we expected.
And then it was sooner than, exactly.
Yes, so please be patient. If you go on the website, it might not be as beautiful as it typically is, because it is a work in progress, but it will be beautiful very quickly.
It will not say.
Just maybe not tomorrow.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah, it won't say not working. It'll work.
We're still on spring break. I would like to welcome all new employees to the district that you've hired.
Yeah.
It's always great to see. Item 7, department reports.
We talked a little bit about, came up last night, the new cameras that were purchased, for school buses. That installation project actually just finished up today. They started last Wednesday, and they installed 31 new systems, on the buses, and that'll, get us to the point where we have 4 cameras on every one of our bigger buses, all of our 66 and 72 passenger buses. In addition to a few of our sub buses, our first few sub buses will also have that newer setup as well. So pretty excited to get that going and have that opportunity. It is a different company than we've used in the past, so it's a different software. It'll be a little bit of a learning curve to figure that out. But we already had a phone call today that I had to go track one down and take a look at. So it definitely helped. It'll definitely make a difference. Just in the past, you may have known there was a camera in the front of the bus and the back of the bus, and it was really hard to see over top of seats. Well, this setup puts the cameras all along one side of the bus, so you're able to see down into the seats. You can see the bus driver, you can see the entryway, you
100% view of the whole bus.
That's wonderful.
It should be a
That
game
is
changer.
a wonderful thing, yes.
It will help out a lot of different ways.
Sure.
Protect our people,
Yes.
protect kids.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Ms. Angie, I'll comment, as we all went through this, our strategic planning process, and all of our department heads did their SWOT analysis, and that was something that came out of that as a threat that we were not able to see, clearly across all of the bus. So, just trying to work on meeting those goals for each department.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Ken.
Ms. Rebecca?
If you look there at what I've got, I know some that you can just read through. I just kind of want to draw your attention to where I've got spotlight there, and I was talking about I've got some things there about the hospital classroom. I had already planned on putting this on here because of COVID, I hadn't got to visit our hospital classroom since I'd been hired here. And Miss Gina Nicely, the teacher there, and Sherry Hensley is the instructional assistant. They kind of helped pull some strings so that I could go for a visit. It was in March 30th. So I have some pictures there of like their classroom and just some different things. And there's a link there that you can click. They were telling me when I went for the visit, I didn't realize this, but they had an article in the hospital's magazine that it has one of our students on it that's there in the hospital. We have 6 students up there. And then they also had an article inside that had some pictures, and they had, done an interview with Miss Nicely and with them. So it was a real nice little write-up about them and the work that they're doing there. And I thought that you all, I think someone last night at the board meeting had asked about the hospital classroom, and I thought, well, that worked out good because I'd already planned on putting this in there. That way you guys can kind of see, what the classroom looks like. And a lot of the students that they have there are residents at the hospital for the time being because of the health issues that they have. So there are some that can go in the classroom, some they have to go to their hospital rooms and see them there in the bed. And if you kind of look through those pictures, you can see, a lot of them have a lot of their favorite items there in the room with them. And Miss Nicely and Miss Hensley, they do a good job of just making sure that those students are comfortable and working with them on the things that they can work, on as well. So I just wanted to show you guys that, because I know, where I hadn't got to visit, I'm sure you all have not seen that either. And if you ever get the opportunity to go by there, I'm sure they would love, for you to check out what they're doing and see their classroom. It's a real nice setup.
I have to ask, why were you not allowed to go before now?
Because of COVID.
I mean,
They
they
were
wouldn't.
medically
let-
fragile.
Yeah, and even now, like I had to, which I'd already had my vaccine and booster and wear a mask, there was still, I still had to do certain things, follow certain procedures to go now. So, but they did allow me to come up and visit, and it was a really nice experience. So.
Yeah, I have to brag on our hospital a little bit. It's just, you don't know what gyms you have up there with those kids and the people who care for those kids, whether it's teachers or nurses or docs or RTs. It's amazing. It's a family up there. They're all family. They're all kids. And when they get to go home, it's wonderful, but they also hate it because they're raised there. Sure. And that is, and Miss Gina, they do a great job. And it's
Amazing
nice,
work.
it's nice, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Humphrey.
Do you want me to go ahead and do the?
Well, we'll
let's
pass over
get-
you.
come
Yeah,
back.
we'll pass. Mr. Rampart, it's all you.
Thank you all. You can see our attendance update. This month, our attendance, I think, is as accurate as it's probably ever been, because we haven't had very many QRS codes. We've had very, very few students quarantined or COVID grade has bottomed out, thank the Lord. So that is an accurate reflection really of our attendance. As you can see, it's down from what traditionally has been. So that's going to be that's a weakness, obviously, that we need to work toward in developing a good plan for the coming years to try to bring that back up the best that we can. As far as another note I've got there, trauma team meetings. Every school, as you all are aware, you approved our trauma plan last June, and Senate Bill 1 a couple of years ago created trauma teams at each school. And so we've had those for a couple of years. We meet at least once a year. Sometimes meet more than that, just depends on what the needs are at each individual school. But we've held a meeting at every school over the last few weeks, and that team is made up of school counselor, school principal, couple teachers at the minimum, sometimes 3 teachers, myself, and then either a mental health coordinator or a mental health advocate. And we talk about several different things. We talk about our tier 1 school-wide plan for trauma. And basically, at the meetings over the last few weeks, at each school, we identified tier 2 students that needed and are getting additional interventions because of a traumatic event in their life. And that could be everything from a referral to a counseling agency. It could be a targeted, if a student has a specific issue or because of a trauma, it could be a specific intervention tied to that disability or tied to that issue that they're having because of trauma. And so those meetings have been very productive to support those students and support those families. And so I appreciate all of our schools putting time and effort into that. That's an issue that's increasing, and it seems like we have more and more students, there's no doubt, that have social emotional issues, and trying to provide the best interventions for them that we can, both school-wide and individual. So.
Mr. Rippert, I hate to put you on the spot by asking you this. You've probably shared this before and I forgot the number. When I was looking at the attendance percentages and stuff, what was our average percentage prior to COVID?
94, somewhere around there.
Okay, I was thinking that, but I wasn't for sure.
If you look back, I redid my SWOT analysis. I've got it here somewhere. Just to give you an idea, district-wide, in 2014, it was 95.12, but it's went down since then. In 2015, it was 93.84, went back up a little bit, 94.21, but it's went down ever since then. So even before COVID, we were going the wrong direction, but it has obviously accelerated with that. We talked last month, I think, about ADA, ADM, and there's been a little bit of, there's going to be some relief on that, I think. So hopefully ADM will be the standard going forward. I think they're going to hold us harmless a couple of years and back to 18, 19, I guess that's okay to say.
Yeah, it's 18, 19 for next year.
So I believe that'll happen. The formula will change a little bit and that'll benefit us.
Do you find though that people are still a little gun shy to send a kid to school if you have a sniffle or I feel like that's probably true right now, just still a little gun shy.
Yeah, I think the mentality is different now.
Yeah, I agree.
Regardless,
sure
the mentality is different.
No,
For years we said, well, you know what, my child got a little sniffle, go on, you're all right.
Yes.
But that mentality's changed.
I don't know if that could be.
And I think there's more sniffles. There's more.
Attention.
There's just more.
I think you pay more attention to it.
Yeah,
I think you pay more attention to it now because you don't know how serious it can
be. You wonder, is this allergies or is this something else?
Yeah.
So, and that's not just, it's the attendance is a societal problem.
Mm-hmm.
We emphasize virtual, we emphasize, we all attend meetings virtually.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there in person, we attend meetings virtually from time to time. It's the way of the world now. So that, again, the mentality as opposed to sickness has changed, but even our mentality, well, do I have to be there? If I don't have to be there, I can do this. Telehealth is growing, obviously. You don't have to go to the doctor, you can do it virtually. So just across the board, the mentality is different. So it's a problem that obviously we're facing, but societally it's
and that'll be a
multifaceted.
That's a good dynamic. That's something to think about.
Yeah.
With your circle of those that do your job in other districts, what are their percentages around us? You don't know, just
it's about. I actually think we're a little better than most. I've been pleased. Like coming back from spring break, it's been pretty good. I think it'll go up.
So our My Rock Online, they're considered in that number too, correct?
They are, because they still have, for instance, if a student has 7 classes at the high school, middle school has 6, I think, 6 on their schedule. The high school has 7. They still have to show up for that class essentially. So for like first period, they either have to email the teacher or complete an assignment in that class where they get counted absent for that class. It's different codes, NVA, no virtual attendance, but it still shows up in this. And that was part of if y'all remember when you all agreed to the waiver for a virtual program, that attendance that was part of that assurance that you all approved. So that is included in these My Rock Online, students are included in these numbers. But if the student was quarantined because of positive or just exposure, that is an exemption code that was entered in, like an EHO. That student was counted at school essentially. They're not in the formula. They were not even in the formula at all. That's why I say these are true numbers really over the last month, because if you go back to September, August, we started school, we've had a lot of quarantines up till March. So it's hard to judge exactly where we were at until we kind of got through that spell a little bit. We still have a few, but they're very, very minimal.
I mean, my concern, and I know, I mean, we're doing the best we can do. My concern on top of the financial, which is a big deal, but it's just, if they're not at school, they're not learning. And I think that's, you know, and I know it's somewhat the same ones over and over again, but it's just, if they're not there, they don't get anything. And so anything we can do as a district to support attendance and get them there, that's huge. And if there's something we can do, you all tell us what it is and how we can support that.
Before COVID, wasn't attendance like it was more strict? Stricter policies?
Policy really hasn't changed as far as truancy goes.
Okay.
Now enforcement of that was a little different last year, of course, because it was hard, the student was virtual. We couldn't necessarily force them to come back in person, so it was hard to navigate in that and enforce some of that because of.
Don't you think it's gonna be that way forward though? Probably some new.
Yeah, and we don't know, you know, I don't know if we'll have this QRS code next year.
I know. The virtual thing's brought that's interesting though, that you say that. That's intriguing, the virtual, the telehealth. I mean, how that's gonna integrate into, I know, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, and just, this is probably, I don't know if this discussion, but there's a bill that is right now, maybe might pass in the next 2 days, or might be attached onto something else that would require us to change our attendance policy to account for mental and behavioral health for students. So that might be something that we have to take into account, and it may, we'll know in 2 days if that passes. So
and I wanna
that will be a
segue there
policy
on this
change.
too. So on the mental health stuff you're talking about, will we have a report from our coordinator, our mental health coordinator, or will we ever, I'm just curious about what's going on in that realm of the world. I know we have one.
We could have Miss Angie come and do a presentation next month.
And of course, we got 2 mental health advocates now.
Yes.
You know, one.
I would just like to see what they're doing,
that
how
would be great.
things are, how working out. I know it's a struggle right now for
Such
everybody.
a big part of every day for our kids. I think that would be a great
I know they're doing a
idea.
great job, so I'd love to hear some good stuff.
Yeah, you will
Well-
be very impressed.
Oh, well, I'm sure. I would love to just, you know, showcase them too. I'm sure they're doing a good job.
We can certainly arrange it.
So with all of the coding that you do for each child, why they're out, blah, 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 I've read all this policy on pandemic, EBT. Is that gonna help you all to be able to, cause that's gonna be a hot mess.
That is going to be a
Like,
mess.
like I said, I have
We're
gonna
read.
have to clarify that, please.
Because I'm lost.
I didn't bring that up,
Uh-oh.
but
We're gonna go past 7 because now you've been
I'm
treating
so
me. That's
sorry,
all
but
right.
I read, like, we get all that policy and I'm thinking,
it's,
Mr.
God
Rupert has
love.
worked this week to try to get a plan
it
in
is gonna be
place.
horrible.
You're gonna have to start from the
to go through
beginning
that.
and explain.
so, you know, the pandemic emergency relief allowed families to obtain a card basically to allow, food purchases and things of that nature. From September to that, the last approval of that ended in August. So they approved it again from September through May. And so we have to, report those students who had a COVID-related absence to the state. And for five consecutive, we need a little bit of clarification. And I don't know what you've got, Anna, but we might need to get
It's
together and
pretty
compare
muddy.
notes. It is muddy, and I was hoping this week we'll get a little more clarification. I think we will, but if a student had a COVID-related absence, 5 consecutive, and that could include a school closure, we did have 2 days closure, but we didn't have a full 5 days like we did last year. So that absolutely muddies the waters. And so that's why we have to report to the state on individual students.
Some students will
there's 2 reported
qualify
students.
and
But
other
then
students will
it
not.
almost
Or
read
more
back down through there that if
Or
you had a
more
student
assistance,
that was
you
out
have to
just due
miss
to
school
this
for 5
illness, a
consecutive days.
sickness, So it's really muddy. I'll try to get, I'll get a good PAPS and I'll see if I can't get some better clarification.
So we're working through that right now. We have to have it to the state by April 27th. And then I think there's an appeal process that they could appeal
You have to
that.
have this
They
turned
can
into the
call,
state
they
April
can call themselves
27th.
and appeal it, and
We got it
then
last
somebody
week.
has to
Yeah,
just
that's
sign off on
nice.
it.
Let's just cover a whole year.
Well, we didn't know, we were wondering too, and then I think it was last Tuesday,
Yes.
I got the email, and I guess you got it too,
So
probably.
we're working through and trying to answer questions, and then as we get our questions clarified, then we'll try to release something out to our families and put on their website and on Facebook as we have more information to go from.
But all we have is our numbers, and all we have is our data, and all we can do is give them that. That's all we can do.
I was just hoping that
And-
as you enter the codes for each child, that maybe that would be an easier way, that it would just track itself. Hopefully.
Yeah, we will. We'll have to sort through, we gotta sort through the data. We gotta report it by month. So, but it's not gonna be hard to pull it.
Do you have a-
Brandon's gonna help me with that.
Do you
as
have
far
his
as-
own secretary?
Problem is all the people that miss 4 days and then a Saturday and Sunday, right? The problem is 5 consecutive days.
Well, that would, yeah, would that
Because
be,
if they miss Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you come back on Monday, then they're gonna be.
That they don't count.
or would that weekend be considered in that 5 days? So you
It has to
have
be
have
5 school
clarification.
days.
We wouldn't report it because it's not, all we've got is those 4 days in our report, so
Saturday, it doesn't count because it's not a school day. If it was spring break.
it's not instructional.
And this is all state.
Yes.
It's a state.
They need to worry about our $4 million.
Well, actually, it's probably, it's federal, I guess. It's federal, come down through the
It is
state.
federal funding,
This
yes.
is federal,
Policies. and
Yeah,
state.
anything to do with SNAP, whatever.
that's all
Is
federal.
federal funding. Anything with Medicaid is determined by each individual state. Medicaid, Medicare.
I think the state is collecting. It's federal.
So as we collect and as we get more information, then we'll share out with the community and with our families.
I'm sorry that got so broad. I just wondered if the coding that you would use would help with that.
It will.
Good,
And
that's good.
Thankfully, we
That's
did
good.
have that.
Thank you, Mr. Rapper.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Steve.
Mr. Trent, did you have other,
I do, yeah. I attached the CMTA, construction field report as my department report that, Mr. Jerry Hammock, our construction manager, did for us. Really busy over break. They jumped in on Friday afternoon as soon as school's out. Set 3 new makeup air units on the roof. They built those curbs during that week, so as not to disturb classes. Got those crane on the roof and set in there. Those will condition the air. Before, we just like brought air in with fans that was, if it's humid outside, it brought in 100% humid air. These will actually condition the air. It won't be humid in the building. It'll mitigate that. Really excited about that. Those units are really big. You've probably seen them on top of the school. They're pretty good sized things. We had to, like Miss Jessica talked about, HVAC stuff is a little bit tough to get at times, and we had to actually substitute a bigger unit to get it in time to install at spring break. These have dual fans in them where the other one only had one, so that's why they're so much taller. And that did concern us just a little bit, but actually it's a better unit, so we
Will it
came
help
out
it
good.
last longer since it's got dual?
It does. The only thing that worried me a little bit about it was lightning protection. Before, when the engineers looked at it, they thought that the hospital was the highest place and it had lightning protection and that we would be okay, but those are just so much taller. We're gonna go back and look at that. And if it needs lightning protection, we're gonna put it on it, in the project, so.
That's interesting.
We don't wanna have anything like that, but they built some really sturdy curbs. There's some pictures in that report. I mean, they did a really good job. We've been really, really happy with Elliott. Another thing they did, they replaced the cafeteria units. One gym unit's already replaced. A lot of the ductwork's already done into the classrooms. They're gonna start changing out some units on second shift, actually into the classroom units. That's work that we weren't anticipating doing at all until summertime, so I feel confident that we'll be ready for school. You know, we have all our equipment, it's all already here. There's no reason that we can't get done. And, I think that having a construction manager has really been a big benefit to that as well. Another thing we did, we replaced a water heater at Broad Hill Elementary. As far as the bidding process and it being transparent, I just wanted to outline this because it kind of goes with what we talked about before. I took 3 bids on it. It's a 300-gallon water heater commercial. They're really expensive. The bids came in between $39,000 and $42,000. Well, then I got thinking,
That's
well,
crazy.
wonder what that water heater cost, because they didn't break that down, they just gave us a price, and that was 3 bids. So I found the water heater for $15,000. So we ordered the water heater, and Archer came in and did it on time and materials for $4,400. I got the bill today. So we saved $20,000.
Way to go, you.
That's the transparency in that construction manager team that we'll get, and that's what we want. So I thought that's pretty cool.
When I was
That's
looking at your
huge.
pictures of the crane, I thought that was so neat. I would have loved to have watched that. Did you have people just stand by and watch?
The
Like
main
general
person that
public?
comes and watch, Jack Raines comes and watches because he ran a crane on those bridge crews.
Yes, yes.
He always drives
I'm
his
glad
golf
he
cart
got
down
to
there and
see
watches.
that, yes.
I'm glad to see him do it, but there were a few people around.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive, those
Yep.
pictures were.
Did a good job.
Thank you, Trent.
Thank you all.
There are a couple of resources that we talked about, that are uploaded in your file. You also have, all of the salary schedule discussion that was approved last evening has been updated, and that is in your file for review as well. In addition, we discussed Fund 2 budgets and, a document outlining all of the grants that the district has been uploaded for you. And as you look through those, if you have questions, about what type of funding that is, or what do we use that grant to support, just let me know. Be glad to answer any of those questions. Another item that was on the agenda tonight that you approved, that I'm really excited to offer this support to all of our schools. We have been working with a national, off of a national contract, to do a district-wide buyout on all of our copying machines in our schools. And we've been working with Canon. Brandon has worked really closely with me to develop this package where every copier in the school district will be replaced with a new copier. We still have some of those machines on a lease. Canon has offered a $98,000 buyout for all of our machines. They will pick those up, house those for us in a storage facility, and we'll use that $98,000. I'll set it up as a Fund 2 local project. We'll use that $98,000 to pay the remaining lease on all of those copiers. So that will be a new project that we'll set up, and that way we'll be sure to have those funds set aside. But when we, maybe even before the end of the school year, but definitely by the beginning of next school year, I think that's a great support for our staff, that we can, going forward, the district can utilize this as a purchasing leverage to get the best price, the best equipment, and the best cost. This national contract offered many bells and whistles for us that we would not be able to do on our own. And we're really excited about the technology that these new machines bring. And there's something that I do not completely understand, but Brandon knows all about it, that will work with our Chromebooks and offer just additional support for our instructional staff to utilize. So we're excited about that. I just wanted to mention that to you, since it does involve us receiving a check, a buyout check, that we will set aside in a separate account to pay those leases. So it's really exciting. We should end up saving some additional costs for our schools. We've met with every building principal and received their input, and we're just all really excited to get that up and going.
How old are the machines that we have now?
That's really interesting. All of the machines across the district, especially at least by school, they are all on differing contracts, and so this will put them all on under the same umbrella. Greater ease for Brandon to manage. We'll be able to use some leverage of the amount of copies that we as a whole, we'll be able to use the leverage the number of copies we make to reduce the cost, if that makes sense. So we're excited about making that happen. That's something, that I've wanted to see happen because, we can always accomplish more together than we can individually. So we're really excited about the pricing, with that contract, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Chance. Ms. Jennifer?
Switch hats for a minute. In your folder, I'm not Jamie Saylor, so I'm giving you my best little creation that I can possibly do in the amount of time I had. This is what, day 2? But taking information that Miss Jamie had left for me, I just wanted to share just a couple of items from food services. Things are going well. Of course, she was amazing and awesome director, wonderful. So I've got big shoes to fill, and I'm trying to learn everything that I can. But if you look at the meals served, I know we're all in person now, even though attendance may be down, our meal service is up, and that's a good thing. And so you can see how many breakfasts and lunches that were served in our schools just for the month of March. I mean, that's a huge number.
I was impressed that the breakfast number was as close to the lunch number. I thought that was really impressive.
I think so too, and I think, and I could be wrong, that second chance breakfast probably
Yes,
helps
that
at
helps
the high
that.
school, middle school, all the schools. If you have that second chance breakfast, that helps increase that breakfast number, so it's a little more equal to that lunch number. That April 1st reporting, normally Miss Jamie would go through a big report that she's completed and sent to KDE, which typically is due on April 1st. The state has extended the deadline for that reporting to June 15th, but I'm sure by May I'll have all of that ready for you and those numbers, absolutely accurate. But basically what that is, that community eligibility program, that's what CEP stands for. That's our ability to provide free lunch to all of our students, and that's based on numbers of our students in our district who are considered direct certification, so they automatically qualify for that free lunch. And we would just want to make sure that all the numbers that we have for that particular item are absolutely accurate, that we've included everybody that we possibly can to make sure that we're at the highest level that we can be. We're going to qualify. We're going to have 100% free lunch for the next several years. But we have to do that reporting every single year because those numbers may change. But right now, we can use last year's numbers and we're good to go for the next few years at least. Under vacancies, there's a change since I made this. RCHS does not have a vacancy. I think I took from one other school before I moved to the high school. So we now have vacancies at the middle school, at Roundstone, and at Mount Vernon. So I've had a couple people stop in and say they're interested in working. We can always use people, men or women, who want to help serve kids. And I'm looking forward to working with that as well. And then the April menus were posted on the website. They will be hopefully again tomorrow. And just to piggyback off of that, all of our content is pretty much there. That transferred to that new site, that new platform, which I've been having to train on in addition to posting on the old site, which I did not know how to do until Miss Jamie showed me. So it's all there. It's just the pictures are stock pictures. They're not our pictures, not our schools, not our people. So we're going to work real hard to get that website ready to go.
Just go back to 2015.
Yeah.
So we were able to keep all of our data until like the 30th of March. So we've lost a little bit.
Yeah. Just about a week or so. So as soon as we can get those things up and going, hopefully this week we'll get that done.
Thank you. It's good to see you again back up here.
It's good to be back. Different capacity, but I like it.
You're a breath of fresh air. When you come up here, you make me smile. Not that the rest of you don't. Okay, I just want to clarify that. Mr. Brandon?
I was going to say, raise your hand if Miss Manning was your teacher.
That's funny.
The oldest person in this room.
That shouldn't be funny.
So a couple of things, we're doing. Of course, we're still struggling every day with Chromebooks and breakages. I just don't think I can say that enough because nobody just doesn't understand how many Chromebooks we see go one thing we did is we became Dell Tech Direct certified, which will help us a little bit. Basically, if you guys call technical support, you have to go through the normal questions, right? 20 questions to get to the spot where they just send me a new device. Well, we've had to go through that too. So when I was at Kisti, I found out about this. So now that we're certified, it's going to streamline that a little bit. Instead of taking 20 minutes to get a Chromebook exchanged, that's going to be a lot faster. We can basically say, hey, this Chromebook's broken, the screen's broken. I know the screen's broken because it's cracked in the middle. So don't ask me 20 questions about that. So we've all done that. So that's going to help and streamline that exchange process. It'll also let them send us parts, which it takes us about 7-10 days to get a Chromebook repaired by Dell if it's under warranty, because they send us a box really fast, but then we have to send it back, then they have to fix it, then they have to send it back. Takes a long time. Goes to Texas, so takes a while. But this is going to make that better. So I'm excited about that. That's going to make things faster. Already talked about the website. I hate to keep talking about it, but website I think will be. I hope, knock on wood again, that it'll be back up tomorrow and good. And we're excited about the new website still. It's not going to be it's not the launch I hoped for. I'm kind of sad because we're not going to launch school sites yet. We're going to launch district sites only. But we'll have a web presence. We can have our posts. All of our posts will be there, and all the things are there. And then we'll move forward with the school sites later. And remember, then this summer we will launch the app this summer. So we'll have an app to iOS and Android. So we'll launch that again this summer. That's kind of put that off, trying to get the website launched while Jamie was here, and then we almost made it, and then now we're almost going to make it again. Jenny talked about Canon. So copying is a big deal. I'm the printer Nazi, maybe people know I say don't print. I'm trying not to print. We're wondering with Chromebooks, we should be cutting down a lot on our printing, and we are, but Canon offers features that we don't have now for printing. For one, we don't even print from Chromebooks. It's a bigger deal to print from Chromebooks. We have no Chromebook printing at all for anybody. And as opposed to when we switch to Canon, we will be able to print the Chromebooks. We'll be able to print without printing, so we can access Google Drive on the Canon copiers. So if it's on their Google Drive, they can just find their document. So that'll be a huge. They literally won't have to print. If Miss Erin Grace wants to print at the high school and she chooses to print at the office, and then she walks there and somebody's in the middle of making 40,000 copies, she would then have to go back to her computer, print again to another copier, and then go get it on that copier. Well, now moving forward, Miss Grace will just have to print, and then she can go wherever she wants to get it. So she could go to Broadhead if she wanted to pick it up, and it'd be down there waiting on her. So that's the way it can work.
So they're all linked.
They'll all be linked. If Mr. Irvin wants to print, and he's on his way to middle school, he can print, go to middle school and print it out in the office at the middle school, whatever. So it's got a lot of features that we haven't had before. Scanning is still there. You can scan straight to Google Drive too, so you don't have to necessarily have it in your email. Lots of features that we've not had before that our teachers will really take advantage of. There'll be, and we've even talked about, after COVID, we had lots of students who needed to print. So we've been talked about giving the ability for a student to print if they're in a dual college credit class, if they're in a class that they need to print. Now, we're not going to do that for all students, but if there's cases where, we're not going to do that for all students, but if there's cases where students need to print, we can allow them a certain number of copies, just like when I was in college several years ago. We can say, you guys can print, you get 100 copies, and then we can just know, hey, they've got 100 copies, and they can't just print every day and print everything, but they can still print when they need to, because oftentimes they do need to. Oftentimes they need to. So there's Canon copiers, and then you guys know about our RUS grant that we got for the high school and the middle school. We're not ready to draw on that grant yet, but we're getting close. We know that project timeline is going to be bad. We know that we're hopeful at this point that we will get that equipment in July. But I really wanted our teachers to see that this school year, be able to see the technology this year so they can prepare for it and know it's coming, just be excited about it. So we do have one system, so I've got one system. So I've not put it in a school yet, but I just got it this week, yesterday. So we do have one system, and we're gonna put that in the schools so teachers can see that. We'll move it around and let teachers see it everywhere. So excited about that too, to let them see that. I was discouraged when we knew our timeline was July, because there's no teachers around in July, so it'd be a bigger deal. But once they see it, they'll know what to expect and hopefully be more excited.
Brandon, right now, as far as the Chromebooks go, Do our classroom teachers do a monthly inventory and send that to you? How, or, no?
Not monthly. No, so I can look at a Chromebook and I can look up a student and I can see when the last time that student logged on. So I can know this student's Chromebook. But no, we have a piece of software. It's called Incident IQ. We had that there's lots of things. When you go one-to-one, it's a big deal. We know the price of those Chromebooks are large, but there's lots of supporting things that have to go with that. One of those was inventory, an inventory system. Before, I knew that a teacher at Mount Vernon was in third grade, so they had 2 computers. And all the third grade teachers had 2 computers. There was no real need for inventory for a desktop computer because I know in my brain that Mount Vernon has, if they're in kindergarten, they have a couple computers. Now it's way different, right? We know that every kid has a Chromebook, but how do we keep up with which Chromebook that is and how many times they broke it? So we have a piece of software called Incident IQ that lets us track. And what my plan is and what we did, you saw that in my notes, but what we did over spring break is before spring break, we asked teachers just to spot check Chromebooks. Read that, I can sit on the serial numbers, read the serial number, look at that kid's Chromebook, tell me if it's damaged on purpose, if it's damaged on accident, if they have a charger. So we asked them to tell us those notes, and they made some notes for us just in a Google sheet. And then we went through that over spring break and made notes. We made a whole bunch of tickets just so we can keep track, and we're slowly, Caleb did like 40 today. So we're slowly replacing those that we know that are broken. What that's going to do for us is help us for the summer, because we know, we're not perfect, right? We don't always know this child has this Chromebook, that's the one assigned to him, but we're pretty close. But that's going to help us for this summer when we get a whole bunch of Chromebooks in, and they all have to be gone through, and they all have to be checked, and we have to do warranty requests and get them ready for next year, because that's a summer long project, right? But we did purchase Incident IQ, and that lets us use it as a help desk and asset management, which is huge. So I can search for a student, and I can see how many times that student has had a ticket open, and I can see what that ticket is just at a glance. If they broke 3 screens, then I know that they broke 3 screens. And then we have notes that help us more. So my plan moving forward with inventory is to do that twice a year. So we'll probably do that before, school start, we'll know where we are. We'll do that before Christmas. We'll do that after Christmas, as close to summer as we can, feel comfortable about. And then that's for teachers. And that's just really a spot check more than an inventory, because we keep up with that daily. Every time a kid swaps out a Chromebook, we have barcodes on them. We scan that Chromebook out to that student. We know that student has it. And we do that with other things. Our hotspots, we do that with our hotspots. We know who has hotspots. Yeah.
How many hotspots do we have now?
200. They're not all in use. But
Is that double what we had last year?
Yes, it's a few more.
Last year.
Because last year we ordered a couple times, and this time we had one pot of money, and I think, I haven't said that, but that money is gonna be available
They
again.
extended it to next year too.
Yeah, so we will apply again for that. It doesn't have to be applied for till like July. So it will be our plan to apply for that again to be able to offer that.
Do those hotspots prove to be effective? I mean,
Lots of students don't have internet.
well, I mean, yeah, I know that, but I mean, their locations or those hotspots doing what?
We talked about the problems with Verizon. I've never figured out anything about that. Is your phone working better?
It's better than it was, yes. I called, like, hounded them, but
Yeah,
yes.
and I reached out to Verizon as well, and they're like, they weren't very helpful. But Verizon's better than AT&T. We know that. It's the best company we have in our area.
Sure. When Jeff was on the board, in his role, he had talked about PRTC, coming out Red Hill in 490, and they have started building a location down at the end of the bridge at Livingston. I stopped and asked, I said, what are y'all building? I'm curious, and that's what they are doing. So hopefully that is going to help a lot of students.
We still have the other program that gives parents of students, but all of our students qualify because we're CEP. We still have the other program that gives them a portion off their bill each month. All of our students qualify for that, and that would be for a landline. Maybe PRTC would accept that. I'm sure that they would. But AT&T, Verizon, they can buy themselves a hotspot and get a few 30. I don't remember how much money it is. So much off. Windstream accepts it. All those Spectrum accepts it. So that's a different program, but the hotspots is separate. It's just where we say, here's your internet on our hotspot. And that's sometimes that's what we have to do.
Well, hopefully if that gets out on that end of the county, that'd be a lot of children that will have better access.
Right, yeah, the hotspot works, it's not super fast. You know, we're
Sure.
talking about
Yeah.
fiber connection with that company, it's gonna be,
Yeah, it's gonna be
gonna be
wonderful.
good.
Is that what you have?
I'm not gonna move to Red Hill, but but
Well, I
that
will
fast
listen,
here.
you know.
I wouldn't like it that much, but I do like that.
I'm looking
You're on
forward
town.
to it.
And then the other thing is our STEM classes, I told y'all, but I did, Roundstones tonight for the first time, that was fun, we played Minecraft and did fun things with, it's programming, it's not just playing Minecraft. But it's funny, because they made Minecraft for a couple years, and when I showed them how to do the coding, they're like, we didn't know that, you know, it's funny how they just play the game. But it is neat, it's really neat, it's neat to see the kids enjoy it, and
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's, yeah, I appreciate
I
that.
start brought in on Thursday, so we'll do that for 5 weeks, just because that's how much time we had this year. And we'll do it again a couple of times next year. And I really like it. And you know, my hope of that, you know, we talked about that, but, you know, rocket readers to rocket leaders, we have to build technology leaders in the schools. That's what the digital learning coaches was about. Those positions are not technical support in any way, right? I hope everybody knows that. They're not technical support in any way. They are just instructional help with technology and getting more PD to certain people, letting them send it to their staff. But our students can be leaders as well, and that's what we got to do, and that's why I've started 4th and 5th grade, and we'll continue that. That'll cycle through, and it'll get better.
I think it's great. I think it's super important. My youngest, he still really doesn't like his Chromebook. And I think that prevents a lot of kids from doing what they need to do because they're really still not comfortable. And I think this right here will help them gain some comfort with that.
And that's why, you know, we have Minecraft. People say, why do we have one Minecraft? Well, one is the education version, so it's different than the normal version. It does have all kinds of STEM extras that you can do with it. So, but it also helps us because if they like their Chromebook, maybe they won't break the screen, right? But that's, you know, that's where we are. Hopefully it's their device, they take care of it more, and we teach that responsibility, and that's the goal, right?
I think it's great.
I have a quick question on, would it be helpful, and maybe this is not anything that would be needed, but like contract labor for a web designer or something like that to help get the website up? Cause everything that you list, I'm like, your plate's so full, that's a lot. Designing a website is a lot.
So that's what we're doing. So remember when we went with this website company, our website lives, the one that's broken right now, it lives right over there on the other side of that wall. So it's been there forever, and we've not ever paid anything for that, and that's been me maintaining the server and Jamie doing all the pretty magic stuff. And so that's what we've been doing. So we do have that. So we got hosting, which will help us because that server won't be here. It'll be hosted by Amazon Web Services. And that company is doing the design. But now they do the design, but it has to be customized for us. So that's what we've got to figure out. There's still a lot of work in the posts, and you know, we hope to expand it so people in schools can, instead of sending the email with here's our pictures, they can make the post, and Miss Manley can approve it, and so because if you can use Facebook now, you will be able to edit our website. You know, it's very simple. So yes, we're doing it. It is, yeah, and it will be great help.
We're not laughing at you, Brady. We're laughing at Jennifer.
She's had a rough night.
It's okay. It's okay.
Brandon, this is, I guess, falls under the digital literacy category. 2 years ago at the middle school when they got their Chromebooks, I think at my daughter's group, they went over with them how to write an email. And that was really valuable. I mean, we all take that for granted that everybody knows how to do that. And I've worked with Ben multiple times on how to write an email, and we're getting there. But just that kind of stuff in terms of it's not all knowing how to code. Some of it is just knowing how to actually get on there and type a message, and you know, some of that stuff, and just manage an email, I think is such a valuable thing for somebody to learn. So however y'all can support that, I think is really valuable.
And I can show you 10,000 emails right now that I
Yeah, I think
so we don't talk about that, but every time, you know, we talked about the mental health professionals, just so you guys know, they monitor those emails all the time. I monitor those emails as well, but, you know, last night we had an email that we had to check on. It happens often, every time a keyword's typed in. But yeah, that's part of the digital literacy. I mean, you know, that's part of that. We need to teach that. We need to teach that better. But remember, 2 years ago, we weren't one-to-one. They didn't have Chromebooks.
Right, right.
So they lot less exposure. By the time my third grader or fourth grader get up to middle school, it's gonna be second nature. I mean, Jasper emails me from class.
Yeah.
You know, so that's,
That makes me feel better, cause they can look all day long. All day long.
It'll be interesting to see the teachers if they can tell a difference in 3 years from now, those seventh graders or whatever, eighth graders versus current, you know, because it will be very more fluent.
What's interesting,
Digital
what's really
fluency.
interesting to me is the difference in the teachers. Because we talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
the students and how much they have to grow.
I agree
but
with you.
Our teachers have grown a lot. And it's been, you know, it's extra work all the way around, but they came a long way.
It goes back to the virtual thing we're talking about. It's all just, you know, different now.
But just a normal science class, just pick a normal seventh grade science class, and they're using technology often, all the time. And then they didn't before because we didn't have, you know, so it's.
It just, like, I think, you know, when we were in high school, you took typing, we had computers, you learned keystrokes. And these kids are still, we have two-finger typers.
You know, they have keyboards now that are phone
Yes,
keyboards.
we'll say that's what they're
Literally.
doing. Yeah, because
plug
that's
up
what they
your
know
phone
to do.
keyboard and type with your thumbs.
Where can you find those?
Amazon.
I mean, you can do voice recognition. You don't even need a keyboard
So our
anymore.
Chromebooks have it built in.
That's what I do.
It gives him anxiety.
And our Chromebooks have it built in for students who can't type fast or have need
If you've
occupational
got the right
therapy.
dialect, sometimes they're not country
Siri
dialect.
doesn't understand me.
Siri, yeah, it's kind of hard. She's gonna all answer to us now.
Thank you, Brandon. Did you have anything else? Thank you very much. Ms. Willis, we're back to you.
That's me. Okay, so last month you asked to see kind of an instructional report of kind of what's happened and where we're going. And now, like Mr. Rippert said, our attendance has kind of gotten back to normal. So we're able to pick up and handle instructional work at this point in time. So since I've been here in July, here's kind of what we have been working on elementary, middle school, and high school. As you can see at the elementary level, we have adopted a universal literacy curriculum. And if you've been following legislation, you know that Senate Bill 9 came out. It was signed into the law by the governor on March 29th. It has a lot in there about a universal literacy curriculum that must be evidence-based. It must focus on phonics, phonemic awareness, on vocabulary. There's going to be a lot of legislation that's coming down about what has to happen in reading grades K through 3 and what our interventions have to look like also. And Ms. Carrie and I sit down and we've kind of looked at that also. We've also adopted a universal math curriculum that is Ready Math, and it is the company that does our universal screeners and our diagnostic test, which is also part of that Senate Bill 9 that by next year, every district has to have a universal screener in place, which we do, and diagnostic in place, which we do with iReady. So we're able to see where a student is at and what skills that they're lacking in or which ones they're excelling in. So iReady will cover all of that portion that was required for next year. We are working on curriculum mapping for reading and math right now at the elementary level. We have a curriculum team that has met a couple times and will meet again in May. And what we're working on is we teach the Kentucky academic standards, not a curriculum. So we are going through our standards that we're required to teach by law. And where does our benchmark, that's our literacy curriculum, where is that taught in benchmark? And if it is not taught in benchmark, what evidence-based supplemental materials do we need or do we already have in place? So we're doing that with math and with reading. Just making sure that our standards are taught to the depth that they need to be taught and that they're assessed to the depth that they need to be assessed at also. Also at the elementary level, we have successful weekly PLCs that are taking place and they are phenomenal. There are fantastic conversations taking place. They are data driven. It is all about what does the data say, where are our strengths, where are our weaknesses, what do we need to look at. I know that this week, Mount Vernon is doing their iReady diagnostic. They've got it staggered this week. Fourth grade takes it tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. Heard all about it.
Yes. Broadhead has already completed theirs, and the growth from fall to spring has been fantastic. And you can go back to, it's because we're having those data-led discussions. What does the data say that we need? And it's having those professional conversations with each other. What does the standard say that we need to work on? Also this year, we have brought in people to help our teachers get into Ready Math and to train them. They've got this program, what can it do? What all is available to them? We're gonna bring them back again next year. We have so many days set aside when we purchased it where they do come in and give us trainings. Benchmark it the same way, that's our literacy. They've came in and they gave a training this summer. We had a training in January. And then we had somebody come in and do a demonstration teaching at each school where we had a presenter come in and she taught a short lesson, a mini lesson, and all of the teachers got to observe it. Then they went back and they debriefed of what did they see, and how can they continue that in their classrooms. And we've got some more trainings coming up with Benchmark, and I'll talk about that in a minute. At the middle school and high school, we have PLCs started. They're meeting monthly right now. We've got some great conversations going on there as well. We are looking for our evidence-based curriculums for our middle school and high school now. We've got our elementary on track, so now we're gonna bring on our middle school and high school and continue that vertical learning and those vertical conversation. Yes, they transition from elementary to middle school, but the learning still has to continue and we don't want there to be a gap. We had a half a release day for each content and they met right here. We had conversations about what are we using right now, what are we teaching and how long are we teaching each unit? Are there any gaps that we're having between middle school and high school? And is there any overlap that we're having? So we've started those conversations about what do we need to change? What do our maps need to look like? Where do we need to plug in and where do we need to move some content? We've had iReady training at the middle school, not as much at the high school, just because iReady, yes, we do the diagnostic through grade 12, but the content with iReady stops at grade 8. And by the time we get to grade 8, students test out. And there's just not any content left for them to do, which is what we want them to do. District-wide, at this point, we have 80% of our teachers that are involved in the literacy grant. And remember, the literacy grant goes from birth to grade 12, and it is giving our teachers some fantastic reading and writing strategies for their toolbox. Content-wide, everybody. We have in our Renaissance grant, those are arts teachers, not just art teachers, but music. We have some in gym. We have band teachers, all kinds of different content arts teachers that are doing this Renaissance grant with KEDC. And the amount of hours that they are doing on their own, just voluntarily, is fantastic. That's one of the greatest trainings that they've said they've ever been to. They get a stipend for participating, and it's a 3-year grant. So it's costing the district nothing, but our teachers are learning a fantastic amount. And another big project that we're doing in the district is our district MTSS work. I've talked about it a couple times. It's been in my department report. Previously, it was known as RTI. The state has changed that verbiage from RTI to academic MTSS. Mr. Rippert does the behavioral MTSS. And as research has shown, the two kind of go hand in hand between behavior and academics. So our interventions need to go hand in hand. And when we talk about a kiddo, we sit down as a team now and we talk about the whole kid. Is there a reason that this kid is behind academically? Is there a reason that the kid is misbehaving? Is the work not challenging enough, or is it too challenging? So we look at the whole kid and we get a lot of different input, and it's not just one person isolated. We're getting away from silo work. We're making bridges and talking about everybody. So any questions on kind of what's happened from July up to this point?
Jessica's been very busy.
So you've been busy.
Yes.
What does MTSS stand for?
It's a multi-tier system of support. So it's, if you've seen the triangle, it's tier 1 is everybody, then tier 2. So if you've got a great curriculum in place, evidence-based curriculum, you should be, 80% of your kids should be on grade level. If not, you're supposed to go back and look at what materials you're using across the board. Because if it's evidence-based, it's went through all of the research that it should reach 80% of your kiddos. Then you got about 15% that's going to be in tier 2 where they're missing some skill work. And we go in and on top of that work, you get some additional skills material.
Then there's gonna be about 3 to 4% at the very top called tier 3, and they get your most intensive interventions on top of, in addition to all the others, to meet their needs.
Do you see that our current curriculum is gonna be the literacy grant, or the literacy, I'm sorry, bill in the House right now, or whatever you were talking about? Are we on target with
We
that?
are on
That's what I was
target. We do have some things we need to kind of tweak, but I was reading at, 9 o'clock when you're reading a bill, it puts some good bedtime reading. But,
I tried to read that. That was a hard one.
It was a hard one to read. But we are on target for a vast majority of it.
So we're ahead of the game.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome.
We had that conversation today, that next year, thankfully, we have already the universal screener in place, the universal diagnostic in place. We have the curriculum purchased this year. Our teachers are getting used to that. We're building that into our curriculum maps. So we will then begin to work on the progress monitoring aspect of it.
Do you think the literacy grant has helped that at all? Do you think they helped together?
Somewhat, yes. Yes. So going forth next year, at our elementary school, we know evidence shows small group instruction is best instruction for an elementary school classroom, K through 5. Even as a former middle school teacher, it's really good practice even at a middle school level. But we're gonna start with small group instruction at the elementary school. We're gonna bring in Scholastic, and they're gonna train our teachers one day this summer on what small group instruction looks like, how to do running records, and why we do it. And that'll be for K through 2. 3 through 5 will work on how to differentiate using small groups, so how to make it different for what each kid needs. Also, we're gonna work with Ready Math, and how does math work, and what does it look like in small group instruction. Also, we have worked with Stephanie Harmon, who's been fantastic at the high school, who has brought to us a science program called the Stella, and you all signed that today. And it is a fantastic science program partnered with PIMSR. Because if you looked into the science standard, used to we taught science at 4th grade because they were tested at 4th grade, and then once they hit 6th grade, there was a huge deficit in 6th grade science because they did not have it at 5th grade. If you look at the standards now, you can't start it at just 4th grade. It has to start kindergarten, and they have to be introduced to science all the way through. So what this program will do is we will have 2 schools that will be our research schools. It'll be part of a research grant, and 1 school will be a control group. This year's going to focus just on 4th and 5th grade, and they get all the materials handed to them, and it is some fantastic science material where they are thinking, reading, and writing like a scientist.
Will this be like a blind group? How will you know? Will you get to choose who's what?
They will send us an email and tell us who gets to be our control group.
Gotcha.
But our science teachers are very excited about this, and they get all the materials, and they get a stipend as well for participating in this. Yes. Middle school and high school, when we came together in our release days, we asked them, what trainings do you want going forward? Because we want it to be beneficial to them, so that they have ownership in their own growing. Because we know as leaders and teachers, we have to learn every day. We should be learning something new all the time. So our math teachers have asked for training on how to make assessments completely aligned to standards, and how to use those high yield instructional strategies in the classroom. And we noticed when we got together, and this is a problem across the state, when you are teaching math, geometry is always that unit at the end, and it gets pushed through really, really quickly right before assessments. And that's kind of been the norm for math teachers across the state forever. So we're going to work on a plan of how to get geometry embedded throughout the year as well. So SCSC, I talked to them today, will be here on August the 8th to work with our middle school, high school teachers together on working on assessments and introducing those high yield instructional strategies. So they'll get that August the 8th. School start on August the 17th. So they'll have some wonderful tools to start the school year. Science wants to work on how to communicate in scientific ways and those cross-cutting concepts. What does that look like in science? So we're going to work with Stephanie Harmon again and SCSC again on how to train our teachers on what they want for science. The science assessment now is not, do you know how to do formulas, memorizing dates, scientists, it's reading. and then reading a chart, reading a graph, and applying everything. Social studies has asked for social studies standards work. The standards have changed. How to look really at inquiry teaching, because economics is one of those topics that's embedded throughout every single era that they teach. So is government. So how do they make that work at every single era? So prehistoric times, what does government and economics look like? What does it look like in medieval times? What does it look like when we start the colonial and the revolution? It keeps going on. And what does that look like, and make sure our kids don't have any gaps. So those are some trainings we've got lined up for them as well. District-wide, on August the 5th, we are going to have our Rockcastle County kind of a conference, and it's gonna run, it's gonna be at the high school. Teachers are gonna select what sessions that they want to attend. They have given us a list of things that they're interested in, and it's broad, it's extensive. Probably won't be able to offer everything, but we'll be able to offer quite a bit of those, and teachers will be able to go to sessions that they want to learn about. We have.
And how will you teach those? Like, will it just be teacher
So we'll
on
bring
teacher?
in, so we're gonna talk to principals about, do you have some rock star teachers
Okay.
that are doing some phenomenal technology? Do you have some phenomenal teachers that are doing questioning? Bring in some people from the community. What are some other topics that they were, it was.
We want to bring in, like Dr. Howley,
Yeah.
we wanna partner with some of the presenters from the Renaissance Arts Grant that
Yes.
KEDC is doing, mental health advocates, and we wanna use as many of our own teachers and district leaders and leaders across of our school system, because there's great things going on, and if there's great things going on at Roundstone, and Broadhead teachers may never get that opportunity to see that, so we wanna share that, and it's an opportunity to spotlight our staff and the great work that's going on all over the district.
That's cool.
Next year is our third year in the KYCL grant, literacy grant, and we're required at this point that 100% of our teachers will be participating in the grant. So we have everybody signed up. They will have their summer institutes. They will get a stipend for that work, and then continue their professional learning. And the last thing I'm going to talk about briefly, and Ms. Carey can jump in, is our deeper learning team. The deeper learning team is through SESC. All of the 8 co-ops throughout the state have been awarded a grant, and each co-op gets money. And SESC is our co-op that we partner with for special ed, so that's the co-op we had to go through. And we are going to work on, we have a team of 7 people. Each one of those people will be paid a stipend of $5,000 over the next 2 years. 67% of that money that we will receive must go to people, to pay people for the work that they're doing. The remaining 33% can go to pay for subs and travel and lodging, materials, whatever else we need it to go to. But that 67% must go to people and pay for the work that they're doing, which is something that we've never heard before, which is fantastic that they're acknowledging that work. But as our deeper learning team, we're going to continue this work and make this go deeper. Deeper standards work, how to have those conversations in PLCs. Teachers are asking for coaching. How do our principals go into classrooms and say, here's what I've seen, here are some suggestions. How do you feel that it went? Here's what I saw. And have that coaching conversation with teachers just to help improve. And maybe say, hey, I've seen this great activity in such and such room. Why don't you go in there and watch them, or have somebody else come in and do some model teaching? But that's what our teachers are asking for, and we're going to be the team, kind of lead that, and just give us more resources and people to make this plan happen for next year.
I have a comment / question.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go back to the beginning of your conversation. And I apologize. You were talking about, Mount Vernon Elementary's having their diagnostic tomorrow, okay? So this is kind of a parent question more than a board member, okay? I have found, not just with my child right now, but in the past I've heard so many parents talk about this, and since mental health is such a big factor, I have a child that stresses over tests, okay? And she apparently at the beginning of the year scored really high, and has been told she's went down a little bit. So you probably understand all of that, and it's not a concern for her. But in her mind, at any time she goes down in a score, that's an issue. Okay, and I guess because I've seen this for years now, I think that maybe we need to look at talking to our children about not stressing over these tests because we put such an emphasis on it. It can't be good for their mental health.
And that goes back to a lot of work done several years ago on the growth mindset and come here and we are here to learn, not really score on a test, but to learn. I know when I was in the classroom, I would tell kids all the time, I don't care, I'll give you an A on your report card if that's what you want, but that's okay. But we're here to learn math, and that's what we're here to do. If you want an A on your report card, okay, whatever, I'll give you the A. But let's learn now. So it goes back to creating that atmosphere of security and comfort in the classroom. That I just need to know what you know. That's all that this tells me is what are my next steps.
Does your child? Have you I mean, my daughter, and she has phenomenal teachers. So I'm not saying that they've put any type of stress or anything like that. But, you know, she sets expectations for herself because I've probably done that. And if she can't reach that goal, I mean, it brings her down, brings her self-confidence
Does it show the
down.
kids their score at the end?
No, it does not show.
None of the
them
I-ready
no,
does.
right, no.
Okay.
But the teacher will get the score, and they
Yes,
usually
I
let
didn't know if
them
the kid did. That's why I was just curious. If
Yeah,
it
and
showed that.
I guess I was kind of confused. Do they test out of every grade level?
No, they test out at 8th grade. So you may have a 4th grader, but when they get their score, or scoring at a 5th, 6th, 7th grade level. So if the questions that they receive get harder, they know that they're answering them correctly. Yeah. And the easier that it gets, it's bumping them down.
Yeah. I've learned too that if you want to know more about what she does, you can ask your teacher. It goes really in depth, does it not?
Her teacher went in depth at the parent-teacher conference. I seen you that night, and she's wonderful. I mean, she's absolutely wonderful, and by no means should I worry, you know, but she worries. My daughter worries, you know, and I don't want there to be such an emphasis in her personal life to worry about a diagnostic test that it stresses her to the point that she needs a mental health consultation.
I think we've all been there, though. I think we've all been there with our old tests in the past.
But I think with the way the times have changed, you know, I think that maybe, I'm not so sure that.
A lot of our students are afraid to fail.
Yeah,
But
right.
you know what Jessica was alluding to in the growth mindset is it's when you learn, when you make a mistake, whenever you do fall short, and big picture society has changed, and perseverance is something that a lot of students lack, and the ability to fight through problems and overcome. And when I make a mistake, it's not the end of the world, and trying to understand that this is an opportunity to learn. And that's something that with mental health, obviously, that we need to emphasize and stress.
And even in the classroom, so that would be a good, I think, for any kid. Yeah, hey, it's what you made, but it's okay to, you know.
And that is some of our tier 1 second steps curriculum is about.
There you go.
Yeah.
Overcoming obstacles, facing difficulty, and some of those things we are addressing. And of course, this is the first year we've done that.
And you know what's really sad about that? This is the first year we've done this, okay? And in about another year, the state's going to change everything so that once again, you're going to be back in this position. Miss Jennifer can tell you this. This is the first year that we've done it this way. So you never get
And I'm excited about
the
this
scale that you need to go by.
How are our teachers? Like, this is a lot of change. How are the teachers doing with all the change? Maybe they need a mental health day.
Good question.
So if you've noticed that there's a trend to all of the work, it's all connected and it's all interwoven. And when we come, it's what they've asked for.
That's great.
And we took our results from our survey, the teachers gave, the TEL survey, or the impact survey now. And that's what the results show, that our teachers want coaching. They want training. They want to be able to say, here's what I need. So
I think that our teachers have had to just, the changes, they're probably just like, okay, one more, here we go. I mean, I guess that's sort of the attitude they've had to have.
At the state level, they're required to change every 7 years. Every 7 years.
I'm hoping this is encouraging for the teachers because this is back to what we need to be focused on. And not, I'm hoping it's encouraging. I do have a question. So we have the literacy, we have the books, we have that. my passion again. What about the science materials? What about the technology materials? Are we what we need for hands-on? It's not always on the computer. Do we have what we need? Do we have the ability to get what we need?
Yes, with our APR-ESSER, the 20% learning loss, we are able to work on that. I'm just waiting for site basis to pass materials, because we have to go through a process with KDE to purchase materials. We have to prove that it's evidence-based, that's gonna be what's best. So we're waiting on site base, so that I can get those and then very quickly pass those down to Miss Jenny and say, here's what we need to start ordering.
Awesome.
And get that rolling.
That makes me excited.
And so that's been divided up equally with language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies. So across the board, every
And arts and
department has had
business.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, and the arts. So every department has had that opportunity to purchase. And then the work that we're doing with Open SciEd is 4th and 5th grade geared. So they'll be receiving materials through that. And then Miss Stephanie Harmon has been working, and Miss Becky Smith and Miss Jessica, they've been working on vertical alignment from the middle school to the high school in science.
Yes.
And
My
the
favorite thing ever.
material that they are, the materials they are using feeds right into what's happening in the 4th and 5th grade. So it's all
That's
vertically
great.
aligned.
That's great.
Yes.
I'm excited about that.
Because that's another thing that goes into behavior, is our consistency, especially with vocabulary. Because I may call something one thing, they may go to a different grade level and she call it something different, but it's the same content or same procedure, but the kid may shut down automatically and just say, well, I just don't know how to do this. And they do, but we're gonna start working on our consistency of vocabulary.
Do you find, I'm gonna go back to the same question, that the teachers are agreeable to that
Very
concept?
much so, yes.
Trying to teach all the same
And
kind
when
of.
we get them those evidence-based materials, it will save them an immense amount of time on planning and searching for good materials, because it's already there.
Yes.
So it will save our teachers a lot of time.
Good, good.
I'm a big fan of the data-driven stuff and looking at the standards and where we need to work. The one thing just to express on behalf of parents is, I think there's always a concern about the amount of time we spend on the diagnostics. And I know that's part of it. You have to do that to get the data, but just always, I think parents are always concerned about that. How many days are we spending on testing versus teaching? So just say, I want to say that out loud. Not, I support it, but I don't want to say that out loud.
And I find this year, I don't feel like it's been as focused. I feel like however we're doing it is more content driven and teaching it, and then we test.
Yes.
Instead of, test or teach to test. I think. Have you noticed that?
It feels that way.
It feels that way, yeah. Of course, this is our
And when you
first.
start with that good, you begin with the end in mind, you create your tests that are around your
Exactly.
standards, it works that way.
It does tend to work.
I really appreciate you giving a presentation, because we've talked about so much, and we've got a great school district, and I appreciate everybody, but we are here for instruction
That's
of
right,
our
and
students.
that's exactly right.
And whenever that quits being our number one focus, then none of us need to be here. So
Just makes me excited.
this, I mean,
You can tell.
this is stuff to
I love it.
commend our teachers and all of you. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Ken, I hate to do you this way and put you back on the hot seat, but I did have a question that I meant to ask you, okay? When I was looking at the trip forms, and I hate to bring up the sour subject here, but there's a lot of long trips, and there's a lot of fuel costs now. How are you feeling about that? I mean, we've had to talk about this before in the past, and I don't want to rob our children of any opportunity, but I know that it's got to be a growing concern.
Well, let's look at it from the standpoint of over the past year, how many trips have gotten canceled, haven't happened, didn't take place? How much fuel did we save over that period of time? When we were not taking trips, when our sports seasons were shorter, we didn't play as many games. So it's excited to get the kids to have the opportunity to go back and experience these things.
Oh,
So,
I am too.
I mean,
But when I was looking at those trip forms, it went down
There's a
at the cost. Well, and they were long distances too.
And so the one
The
eighth
cost
grade,
is by students. It says
is
that,
gasoline included in their the fundraising they're doing for that 8th grade trip, the big trip?
yeah, the
That's
eighth
because I know
grade
we've been doing some really good fundraising.
But I mean,
the
overall-
price they pay is no different than it was at the beginning of the year. They're still paying $2 per mile you know, whether it's August 1 or May 1.
What about all of those other trips? It says the cost is being paid by students. Is that figured in with what they're paying for their actual trip?
Yeah, exact same thing. They're paying the same amount, whether it's
So really, there's no cost to the district. I'm asking because just to verify. Wait,
No, that's a
I mean,
legitimate question.
there is.
There is, because there's somebody's paying for the, you know, for the drivers and for the fuel, but most of
For the fuel.
the trips, you know, what you're referring to is a true field trip being taken by, you know, traditional regular students. Those students are paying for all of those, but now competition-related trips are different.
Sure.
You know, we are paying for those. You know, anything
I think I was
competition-related.
leaning more toward like field trips and stuff because
Yeah.
it said that it was being paid, you know. I guess I was wondering about fuel. Is that factored into what the students are paying for?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. It's again, at $2 a mile is what those are.
Which is
are paid
unfortunate,
at.
I think too, that we
That,
can't.
that bothers me too.
But I
yes.
mean, you know, they get to go, so that's the good thing. And I know commends to the middle school, they have been doing a great job. I don't know how funded it is, but I know that 8th grade trip is it's gonna be a fun trip.
That's good.
I'm excited to be able to go back.
Yeah, I hope I can.
Hope you get to too.
Yes.
Wait till you see next month's field trips.
Oh, I know, we got a big one.
Summers,
I mean,
camps.
yeah, and I'm not against field trips. Listen, I think it's a great opportunity that our children get to go. Some of these children go places that they'll never get to have that opportunity again, and I am definitely all for it. But, you know, as it is our responsibility to ask questions concerning the finances of how we're going to fund, you have to.
We've saved a lot over the COVID year back, because there was a lot of trips that never happened and never took place.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just one
There
of
were
those
no
things.
trips.
There was no trips.
Well,
We had no school.
We had a few competitions.
Other than competition-related
but
stuff,
no.
it just wasn't, it didn't exist.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. Mr. Cook, do you have anything that you'd like to say?
Anything that you wanna know about? I can give you a brief run, I'll stand up so you can see me a little bit better, but, well, speaking of competition, so this week, right now, currently, we have our, some FBLA students in Louisville competing in the state, competitions. And then in the morning, we're, sending Skills USA up, tomorrow through Saturday, to compete at state level. And, also bringing back FBLA at the same time. I think we've got that coordinated, don't we? Let's try.
Good to go.
Thanks, Scott.
One trip instead of two.
One trip instead of two, saving fuel, yeah.
Say that $2 tomorrow.
And then, just in general, you know, we've spent a lot of time and effort, you know, trying to remediate students who, fell behind, through, you know, last year with COVID, especially our juniors and our seniors, who have been in the building multiple times, and I feel good about their accomplishments. I feel really good about their accomplishments. We're wrapping up our, end of program assessments and our industry certification tests, and, overall, we're getting really good results. Probably better than I actually expected, you know, across the board with the amount of learning loss that we had last year. But there again, the teachers have done a good job, students have done a good job of really catching up. And, so that's what we've been focusing on, is getting our seniors ready to graduate and making sure they've, got all the skills that we can give them before that time arrives next month, to send them out and with the, you know, tools in their toolbox. And then, of course, working with our entry-level students and helping them determine what pathway they want to go, you know, in their junior year. And I feel like we've had a really strong year. Again, better than what I hoped for. So it's been a lot of positives this year.
Has the high school had their scheduling yet? Has that happened?
Yes, they're working on finalizing that. I've had several conversations with Ms. Smith and both counselors, and we've been working through that process, and I'm sure they're gonna be finalizing that pretty soon.
I know, because your numbers is a big factor.
Our numbers are, we have to, our programs have to maintain at least a 12.5 SDR. If the overall average for a program actually hits 12.5 or below, that program is flagged, and then we have to go through a unpleasant process of trying to correct that problem and fix it throughout the next year, and then if it doesn't get fixed, they can close that program, which gets rid of the program and the teacher. And so there's a lot of pressure to try to recruit each year, and it's challenging sometimes because, you know, there's a lot of good electives at the high school, and you know, we want them to be where they want to be, but that's also competition for us. And then, you know, as the numbers kind of fluctuate year to year with the population, sometimes that comes into play too. But I think we'll be okay next year.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Well,
Ms. Carey, you have anything for us?
The last thing that I want to comment on is Mr. Bussell and his staff have finalized their graduation plans. And Rockcastle County High School graduation will be held May the 24th at 7:30 p.m. And again, that will be held at the football field like we had it last year. It is going to be held just a little bit later in the evening. Last year, I think we held it at 6 o'clock, and if you all remember the sun, it was, yes, so he has changed that time to 7:30. That will still give us plenty of time for daylight, but again, that will be at the football field, and that was a very, very nice event last year, and I think everyone enjoyed it so much, there was no way we could go back to having it inside at the gym, so again, the 24th at 7:30.
A quick question for that I've had already been asked. Will that be unlimited, or are there gonna be tickets again?
There will be 15 tickets
Okay.
per graduate, so
No, thank you.
I think that's
Much
a
better.
good number,
Yes.
yes. 15 per graduate.
Wonderful. Have anything else for us? That's all I have. Matt, do you have anything?
I'm good as far as I know.
Anything?
I'm good. I just appreciate everybody's work. You all had some work to do
Absolutely.
this month.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I like the department reports, I have to say. I know it takes some time, but I really do like them. It keeps me apprised of everything going on, so I appreciate it.
I'm good, thanks to everyone, and I know we had mentioned before, maybe some kind of like board award for a senior. I think that would be really neat, whether if we, I think we still have time, if we don't, we can talk about it for next year, but,
We used to offer a small scholarship to someone, and we
I
kind
think
of.
we did a boy and a girl.
Yes,
Is
we
that
did.
maybe?
Yeah, I think it would be neat, like each
$250
board
each.
member to have like what they feel like is a good quality in a leader, and have the teachers maybe vote on that. I'm just throwing it out there, we can discuss or whatever, but I would like to see that.
We'll get to work on that.
I'm gonna break it, I told you. Miss Ann?
Thank you all for all your hard work. Miss Jennifer, good to have you back.
The only thing I have, I extend my thanks to all of you, and I think it's a really great time to be a Rocket right now. I think we've got
Yes.
exciting things in our future, and hopefully the pandemic is getting behind us now, and we can focus on the things that I know is in your heart, and is to broaden the horizons for our children in more ways than just, we want them to come back to Rockcastle, but we want them to see more than Rockcastle. So, you know, it's exciting. So with that being said, I appreciate you, and I need an adjournment.
Make a
Move to
motion.
adjourn.
All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Thank you all, and be careful going